Okay, Emerald signing in once again. Today's topic is meeting of the minds. I thought I'd touch on this topic because this has been on my head all week really. But so I thought I'd go and make a video before I get my night started. It is Saturday night, so I'm gonna get it popping tonight. I'm gonna do something to enjoy myself. But I got to get this video out because I haven't dropped nothing this week, so I got to do this. Meeting of the minds is an understanding or agreement between two people or groups. As you can see, that's what Merriam-Webster. I'm gonna just start right there, but I'm gonna go to another source so I want y'all to be clear on what it really means to have a meeting of the mind. Okay. Now here you go right here. Cornell Law. This is what they say: actual assent by both parties to the formation of a contract, including agreement on the same terms, conditions, and subject matter. I like that. I like that definition. That's very straight to the point. Okay, although a meeting of the minds was required under the traditional subjective theory of assent, modern contract doctrine requires only objective manifestations of assent. Now, if you can see right here, the key word right here, term. Okay? Terms deal with words. That's what you're dealing with when it comes to words. It's including agreement on the same terms. When they got you in court, they're using a different language. Generally, most of us that study this on a regular, basis, we see it as legalese. It's known as legalese. And we're speaking plain English when we go in the courtroom, and they're speaking legalese. There's never a meeting of the minds when you walk in there. So there's always room to be deceived or misled into believing that you agreed on terms that you never would have agreed to had you known that's what the terms meant when they were spoken to you. Of course, this can be grounds for terminating the contract altogether. So, this is contract law. It requires meeting of the minds in order for a contract to be an actual enforceable, a valid contract. You can't trick anybody into, agreeing to something, and then you try to hold them to walk out there into the bargain when they never understood the terms of the contract. Now this word right here, assent. Some people kind of read definitions and skip over words that they pronounced, they sounded out and kept going and didn't look at exactly what it meant. Look at the word assent right here. Matter of fact, let's see mutual assent as you see right here at the bottom of the screen right here. Mutual assent, an agreement by both parties to a contract. Mutual assent must be proven objectively and is often established by showing an offer and acceptance. Exchange for Y followed by an acceptance of that offer. So as you can see, it actually pretty much goes in there. Both parties have to basically understand exactly what's going on. We have to be on the same page. You have to clearly understand what these terms mean. Just like one time, it's just like, say, person, for instance. I remember going and having an exchange with a judge one time. He was in a court. It was a traffic case or whatever I was in back in probably about 19 somewhere. I think it was 2019. And I didn't want to be called a person. I ain't no person. Don't call me no person. And I called myself checked on it. Of course I wasn't being belligerent. I ain't no stupid ass. But she said, "You like a person to me." Now, me where I am now, of course I wouldn't have such exchange with a judge. I wouldn't even be in there if I can stay out of there. But the thing is, like, I would not be, by me knowing that there is more than one type of person in commercial world, that language means, it could mean two things. It could mean an artificial person, which could be a corporation or, or something like that, some type of business entity. Or it could be a natural person. which even in commercial terms, it says it's a human being. Okay. So, which one are you saying that I am? Which one are you seeing me as? And they're using the word person to deceive you because they can't hear human beings in there. Living men and women they can't hear in there. So they're going to call you a person that throws you off. There's no meeting of the minds there because the whole time they're dealing with trust. They're dealing with the straw man, which is a public trust, and they are trustees. They're supposed to operate as trustees for that trust for your benefit because you're the beneficiary. Okay, but you don't know that you're operating, you don't know that in your mind you're operating as a living man or living woman. And if you knew legalese, if you understood the difference between the two types of person, you would see yourself as a natural person. Okay, but you're not trained in what they're doing in the courtroom anyway. You don't even know they can't hear living men and women. They only operate through contracts. They operate with through fictions, through entities. You have to have a vessel to operate in them. Okay, so you don't know that that's all they're administered. They're administering vessels, which are the straw man, which is also a trust. Okay, your name in all caps. That's the name of the trust. Okay, but it's a trust. Okay, and they're trustees that's supposed to operate for your benefit. All trustees have to operate for the benefit of the beneficiary. Okay, you don't know that. So you in there in your natural capacity, in your human being capacity, that's what you're doing. You unknowingly, you're sitting here operating as the straw man, as the fiction, the artificial person. You don't know that you're doing that. They know you're doing that, but their job is to trick you into operating as the artificial person by calling you a person, and you not knowing, you're not trained in legalese, so therefore you will not know. So you have to understand that there's a difference between these different terms. It's like United States. We look at United States in one code section, you may find the definition of a United States. You'll find out that it's a corporation. But if you look in a different chapter in the U.S. codes, you'll see that there's a different definition for United States. And you'll see that it's talking about all 50 states or whatever. They have different definitions for the same term. It depends on where you look. Just like if you look in any codes in any state, any of the 50 states, you look in the codes and you'll see that there's a definition area in every chapter they have going on. They got a definitions area. So they'll show you exactly what those terms mean that they're using in those codes. So you can clearly understand what it means when you're using these codes, when you're reading these codes. Okay, just when you read them and you're applying them, you understand what it's saying. Okay, so when you understand, but they don't use definitions, a list of definitions in the courtroom. They're speaking from their mouth, and if you don't know what they're saying, there can't be a meeting of the mind because you were never trained with that. But I don't want to rant off. I don't want to go off too much about it. But I want you to understand there has to be a meeting of the minds. Both minds have to meet and be on the same page in all areas of a contractual agreement. Okay, in order for there to be a contract to be valid, there must be a meeting of the minds. If there's no meeting of the minds, then that contract is not real. It can be rebutted. Y'all remember the situation with Dr. Dre when he went through that divorce and he tried to use a prenuptial agreement, and he couldn't use the prenup. It worked against him because it was done at the last minute. From my understanding, she signed it at the last minute. It was too close to the wedding date, which means she could always use that to, like, I was pressured. I was pressured into that. I was in an emotional state. I felt too much pressure when it came to signing that thing. So she was not really mentally and emotionally at peace with what she was doing. She felt pressured in doing. That's coercion. You know what I'm saying? That's duress. It's a type of pressure. So when someone it's not their free will to go into that agreement. They clearly understand what it means, and they're not pressured into it. They're not forced into it in any type of way. That's why he was still getting his ass handed to him in the court. When he went through that divorce, because and the prenup could be rebutted because it was not done at least 6 months way before you got married. You know what I'm saying? You got to do it. I would do it at least 6 months to a year before you get married. That way, you're in sound mind. You know, you can't say you was pressured. You can't say, I forced you to do anything. You clearly understood what it was that you were reading. You read it out. You have, you got time to read it. You got time to look over it and ask any questions you had to ask before you signed this prenup. I even got witnesses on here confirming that we followed those steps. They signed it as well. I signed mine. Now that thing can be enforced. Now you could use that because there's a meeting of the minds. She clearly understood the terms. She knew what you said in there. She knew she knew that you were clearly protecting all of your assets. So she couldn't, what to do. Basically, she couldn't do what the courts always do to people when they go through these divorces. So it just protects your assets. But we're not talking about prenups. We're talking about meeting of the minds. There was no meeting of the minds because she was pressured. She was forced into it. She felt like she was some type of way forced into it. So that's why she signed it. That's why he wasn't able to use that prenup. So they used that, and that she could have clearly understood it. But just because of the date that she signed it, it was too close to the wedding date. It's easy to use that as a loophole to get away with throwing this whole prenup out, throwing this whole contract out because there was no meeting of the minds. I was pressured into do it. I did it because I wanted to get married, and he told me this, he told me that, all these different types of threats or whatever. I mean, I ain't gonna marry you if you don't sign it and all this stuff. And I didn't want to, cancel everything that we planned and everything. I didn't want to do that, so I went ahead and signed it. So now we can throw the contract out. So when there's no meeting of the minds, the contract can be done away with. Okay? Just understand that. Do more research on meeting of the minds. I'll probably do a part 2. I probably won't. But I think I explained it clearly so you understand all parties have to understand what it means to have a meeting of the minds. Both parties have to understand what it means, what the terms mean, what conditions are, what conditions, what they're getting themselves into, and they both have to clearly understand it. And then they both have to clearly agree to it. And they both clearly understand it. They both clearly understand, agree to it. All the terms being used in the wording, all that, they have to be on the same page with that. And then that contract can be valid. So now we got a valid contract. Okay. A lot of time people go into these, child support, you don't even know that you got a choice. Most people get pressured into that shit. They think that's the damn law. They think being on child support is the law. And it's not the law. It only becomes law when you agree to it, because contract is law. So once you agree to it and they got you there, they got you into an agreement. That's what they're enforcing. They're enforcing what you agreed to. So that's, so you understand that. I think I'm going to stop right there. I just want y'all to understand that because a lot of y'all dealing with child support, and y'all, in most cases, there was no meeting of the minds when you got involved in that shit in the first place. Okay? You didn't know that you had a choice. You didn't know that you didn't even know that you're supposed to answer and file something into that court case before you even went in there. You did not know that you had a choice to object to it and stand on it. And any judge trying to bully you into it, that's grounds by itself. They're not supposed to, they don't have authority to bully you into no contract. That's the same thing as making somebody sign a prenup at the last minute. And then you trying to enforce that prenup. It's not valid if you force somebody into it. So anyway, that's a whole nother topic for another discussion when it comes to forcing somebody into a contract. So we'll talk about that in another video. But I'm going to get on up out of here, y'all. Don't forget to like and subscribe, y'all, if you haven't. And make sure you share these videos. Help me get these things shared or shared across the internet. I'm trying to get back on fire with it. Okay? All right, y'all. We'll talk to y'all later. M. Rose signing out.